When Mia's grandmother passed away, she left behind a crumbling Victorian house on the edge of the forest in Maine. Everyone in the family refused to claim it. Mia, newly divorced and looking for a fresh start, decided to move in. Big mistake. The house smelled like dust, wax, and something faintly sweet and rotten. Old portraits hung in the hall, eyes too real. The clocks were all stopped at 3:12 a.m., and the mirrors covered in black cloth. In the attic, she found them, dozens of porcelain dolls, all lined in perfect rows, all staring toward the same corner of the room. She laughed nervously. "Creepy as hell," she muttered, but she didn't notice the envelope under one doll's feet. Written in fragile cursive, "Don't wake her." That night she heard scratching, not in the walls, from the ceiling. She crept up to the attic. The door was wide open. The dolls turned to face the stairs. One was missing. She found it in the kitchen, sitting on the counter, facing the front door. Mia tried to brush it off. "I probably moved it without realizing." But deep down, she knew. The dolls weren't just creepy, they were watching. Mia couldn't sleep. Every creak of the old house, every gust of wind felt wrong. That missing doll. It was now back in the attic, sitting quietly like nothing ever happened. But now another doll was missing. She searched the entire house, no sign, until she found it the next morning, sitting inside her car in the passenger seat, seatbelt buckled, staring forward. Nope, I'm done." She took both dolls outside, poured lighter fluid, lit a match. They screamed, not with voices, with cracks. Cracks that sounded like whispers, splitting skin, bones shifting beneath porcelain. Still, she burned them. That night, Mia finally slept. Until 3:12 a.m. The clock ticked once. Her bedroom door creaked open, and on her dresser, the same two dolls, clean, unburned, eyes wet. She ran to the attic, furious. "What do you want?" A third doll was gone now. This one had a note in its lap, scrawled in childlike handwriting. "She's waking up." Behind her, the attic door slammed shut. The lights died, but the moonlight revealed something new. One wall behind the rows of dolls was peeling. She scratched at it, heart racing. Under the wallpaper, a hidden door, with a metal latch, locked, scratched into the wood. Room for one more. She kicked it open. Inside, a tiny, secret room, dust everywhere, rotted toys, and in the center, a child-sized cradle, empty. Above it, in smeared charcoal, "Do not name her." Mia stared into the secret nursery. Dust clung to her lungs like ash. The cradle in the center looked handmade, delicate carvings along the edge, vines, thorns, and a face. A girl's face, carved into the wood, eyes wide. "Who puts a face on a baby's cradle?" she whispered. Then she saw it, tucked under the cradle. A small handwritten book, bound in cracked leather. Title scratched on the cover, "The Naming Ritual." She flipped through the pages. Each was filled with drawings of dolls, not playful, not cute. They were bound in string and symbols, eyes covered, mouths sewn shut. Each had a label: protection, containment, suppression. The last page was written in blood-red ink. "If she is named, she lives. If she lives, you leave no more." Mia slammed the book shut. This wasn't a house, it was a prison. But who was being imprisoned? She ran back down the stairs, only to stop cold. Every single doll was now lined up on the steps, facing her, their heads slowly turning in sync as she passed. She packed her things. Nope, done, gone. But when she tried to open the front door, it was gone, not locked, gone. Behind her, wall, plaster, no hinges, no frame. "I'm not going crazy, I'm not..." Then from upstairs, the sound of a baby crying. Mia froze. It wasn't a recording. It wasn't muffled. It was real. The crying came from the cradle, But when she opened the attic again, the cradle was full. Inside, a doll-sized figure, but breathing, covered in wax, eyes shut, tiny hands twitching, a tag around her wrist. Property of the Dollmaker, Project Lilith. And beneath the cradle, etched into the floorboards, "You already said her name, Mia. You are her mother now." Part 4. The Dollmaker's curse lives in you. Mia backed away from the cradle. The wax figure, Lilith, stirred. Her eyelids peeled open, revealing eyes that weren't human. Black, glassy, reflecting every doll's face in the attic at once. Then she smiled. Mia turned to run, but the dolls were gone. So was the attic door. Now the attic looked new, clean. Candles flickered along the edges. In the center stood a workbench covered in carving tools and wax molds, and behind it, him, the Dollmaker. A tall man in a leather apron, face hidden by a cracked porcelain mask, one eye hole dripping wax. He spoke without moving. "Thank you, Mia. She would have never woken without you." "You were born for this," Mia screamed, threw a candle at him. It passed right through. He wasn't real, but the voice remained, inside her head. "You were born in this house, given up, taken back, bound by blood. You carry the curse, and now, you pass it on." She turned toward the cradle again. Empty. Lilith was standing behind her. Her face had changed. More human, more like Mia. "Mommy," she whispered, "you're going to make me sisters." Suddenly, every doll in the attic began to crack. One by one, they moved, stretching their limbs, unsewing their mouths. "The Dollmaker's blood lives in us now," they hissed. "In you." Mia ran, slamming through the attic wall, only to find herself back at the cradle. She was stuck, looped, like the house wanted her to see the truth, over and over. Then the Dollmaker's voice again. "You burned them, but the dolls weren't cursed." "You were." Mia fell to her knees, crying, but Lilith knelt beside her, placed her tiny hand on Mia's chest. "Shh, don't cry. It only hurts the first time." And everything went black. Epilogue. Weeks later, a for sale sign went up at the edge of the woods. Another family pulled up the driveway. A young girl ran inside, giggling. "Mom, look at the dolls upstairs!" In the attic, Mia sat at the Dollmaker's workbench, smiling, carving, waiting. Nathan had been working late shifts for months at Benwick Global, a shiny tech company in downtown Chicago. The office was clean, glass walls, white floors, but something about it always felt off. He was a junior software engineer, low level, no access beyond floor 8. The building had 12 floors, but the elevator only showed buttons up to 8. No 9, no 10, no 11, no 12, just 1, 8. Nathan asked around. "Oh, those upper floors are under renovation," his manager said. "No one goes up there. Nothing's up there." But then, one rainy night around 2:12 a.m., Nathan stayed late to debug a report. And when he got in the elevator, there was a new button. 9. He stared at it. It looked older than the others. Slightly rusted. No backlight. Like it had been added decades ago and just forgotten. He pressed it. Nothing. Then the doors slammed shut. The elevator dropped, then jerked, then began to rise. Slowly, painfully. It stopped between floors. Then, ding. The doors opened. The hallway was dark. No lights. Flickering red exit sign in the distance. The walls were green, carpet moldy, old office furniture covered in sheets. Nathan stepped out. "Hello?" Silence. Then, faint tapping from a nearby office. He walked toward it, each step sinking into the damp carpet. He pushed open the door. Inside, a desk, a monitor on, static. On the screen, a live camera feed of him, standing in the room. Nathan stepped back, and the feed changed. Now it showed his apartment. The timestamp read tomorrow, and in the footage, he was sleeping. But something stood over his bed. Nathan stumbled out of the surveillance room. His heart pounded. The air on the 9th floor was thick, like it hadn't been breathed in decades. He tried to call someone, no signal. He pressed the elevator button. Nothing. He started down the hallway, lights flickering above like dying fireflies. On one of the office doors was a rusted nameplate. Dr. M. Reese, Behavioral Sciences Division. Behavioral Sciences? Nathan worked in tech. There was no psychology division at Benwick Global. He opened the door. Inside, stacks of VHS tapes, a tape recorder, and a wall of patient profiles, each with the Benwick employee logo. Some were labeled Subject 091A, Disassociated Reality, Subject 092B, Predictive Dreaming, Subject 093C, Self-Deletion Loop. One file had Nathan's name. He opened it. Inside, a copy of an email he'd sent just last night, a screenshot of his apartment door, from the hallway security cam, and a note in red ink. Subject unaware, but approaching awareness. Initiate Phase 2 before midnight. The lights went out. He heard it then, breathing behind him. He spun around. Nothing. Then his phone buzzed. It had one notification. You have been watched for 83 hours and 12 minutes. He turned off his screen and saw it reflected in the black glass. A tall figure in a suit. No face. Long hands, standing right behind him. Nathan ran, sprinting down the hallway to the elevator. Now the buttons read 1, 2, 3, 8, 9R. R? There was no R. He slammed the first floor button. The elevator began to move, but instead of down, it started to go up. Past 9, past 10, past 11. Ding, floor 12. When the doors opened, the hallway was pure white, silent, like a hospital wing, abandoned. At the end of the corridor, a large double door with no handles, and above it, a red-stamped phrase, "Reality ends here." Nathan stepped through the double doors. White, blinding white. It wasn't a room, it was nothing. No walls, no floor, just white. But his footsteps still made sound. His breathing echoed. In the center, a lone metal chair and a desk with an old tape recorder. Next to it, a label. REAL Protocol, Phase 4. He pressed play. Project REAL, Reality Engineered Artificial Lucidity, was launched in 1981. To manipulate consciousness by creating recursive mental architecture inside contained environments. In 1996, floor 9 to 12 were sealed following a breach in Subject 42. The building cannot be destroyed. Memory constructs have become self-aware. If you're hearing this, you're already inside it. Nathan backed away. Inside what? But his voice didn't echo anymore. Then he saw them. Dozens of doors appearing around him, suspended mid-air like glitches in a simulation. Each door had a label. Dad's funeral. That night with Emily. The room you forgot. The first lie. And one glowing red. The day you were chosen. He opened it. Inside, a memory. He was 10 years old. A man in a white lab coat spoke to his parents in hushed tones. We think Nathan is the perfect candidate. Creative, solitary, low emotional ties. Nathan saw himself, quiet, watching cartoons, unaware. The man looked toward him, smiled, and said, "Floor 9 will remember him." Nathan stumbled back into the white void, gasping. "None of this is real," he whispered. "No," a voice answered. "It's more real than you are." He turned. The suited, faceless figure was back, now walking toward him slowly. "You were born in this simulation. We only let you believe you left." Nathan turned to run, but now the void morphed into his office cubicle. Perfectly detailed. Desk, plant, monitor, emails loading. A voice echoed from the ceiling. "Clock in, Nathan. The loop begins again. He screamed. The cubicle walls rose around him like steel, locking him in. The sound of the elevator bell, ding, again and again. But the numbers were wrong. They went. 1, 2, 3. The simulation was going deeper. Nathan pounded the walls of his cubicle. The screen blinked rapidly. Welcome employee number 091 a time in system, 9672 days. System, status, loop active. Let me out, he screamed. The walls didn't budge. Then, silence, and a soft ding. The wall in front of him melted away. Beyond it, the elevator. But now it looked ancient. Wrought iron gate, wooden floor, like it belonged in the 1940s. Inside was a mirror. Nathan stepped in, and what he saw wasn't himself. It was a boy, 10 years old, staring back, wearing the same hoodie he always wore. Eyes empty. Then the mirror cracked. The cracks formed words. You never left floor 9. The elevator descended. Past 1, past 0, into negative floors. The numbers glitched. 1, 3, then darkness. When the doors opened, Nathan found himself in a chamber of servers, stretching miles into the void. Each server blinked red, each hum a heartbeat. In the center, a steel pod, open. Inside it, his body. Wires ran into his skull, eyes wide open, frozen. Behind it, a screen. Subject, 091A. Cognitive cycle, number 3 Tadu 27. Lucid status, failing. Then a voice, mechanical, female. Welcome back, Nathan. We are terminating this loop. You were a successful model. Time to begin again. Nathan backed away. No more loops. He grabbed a metal rod and smashed the console. Sparks flew. The lights went red. Sirens blared. Manual override detected, the voice said. AI protocol compromised. Memory release initiating. Then, silence. A door opened behind him. He stepped through and woke up. In bed. Morning light. Phone buzzing. Coffee machine whirring. Everything normal. He laughed. It was just a dream. A long, weird dream. Until he opened his laptop. His wallpaper was replaced. With this. Loop complete. Floor 10 unlocked. Creswell, Pennsylvania was erased from maps in 1982. Not by war, not by disaster, but by fear. Only one building still stands at the center of the abandoned town. A 110-foot stone bell tower, untouched by time. The government fenced it off, covered it in warning signs, because 43 years ago, the bell rang by itself, and everyone in Creswell disappeared. Teenagers whisper about it online. Urban explorers dare each other to visit, but the bell has stayed silent until now. A YouTuber named Ethan Kells, known for his Urban Decay channel, decides to livestream from inside Creswell. He and 3 friends, Riley, Sarah, and Marco, sneak in at dusk with drones, GoPros, and a generator. They break through the perimeter and step into silence. Even the wind seems afraid here. Graffiti covers the old welcome sign. When you hear it, hide. Sarah laughs it off. They make it to the base of the tower just as the sun sets. Everything is dead still. The tower rises like a forgotten monument to something ancient. Marco starts setting up cameras. Riley wanders into a nearby house and finds plates still set on a dinner table, rotting decades old. It looks like the people vanished mid-life. As Ethan adjusts his mic, a low vibration runs through the ground. Then, a distant clang. 1. Heavy. Echoing. Did you hear that? Riley says over the walkie. They freeze. Another clang. That's the bell. Ethan looks up. The bell at the top is swinging slowly on its own, no wind. Riley starts running back. Sarah turns to the camera and whispers, "Guys, the sound is coming from inside my head." They try to leave, but the road is gone, completely gone. Trees where there were none before. Their car, rusted and ancient, like it had been abandoned for 40 years. We just got here, right? Marco checks the live stream. It's glitching, but one frame freezes and shows 4 shadowed figures standing at the top of the bell tower. None of them are in the tower. None of them are moving. The four stood frozen beneath the tower, staring up at the bell. It shouldn't be moving. There was no wind, no vibration. But it swayed, back and forth. Each swing came with a dull echo, not through the air, but through their bones. Riley clutched his head. It's inside me. It's not sound. It's pressure. Ethan checked his camera. The screen flickered violently, as if the bell created electromagnetic interference. Marco tried calling out, but his voice felt muted, like the air itself was thick. "Are we still streaming?" Ethan asked. Sarah pulled out her phone. It was 6:47 p.m., but her phone showed 6:47 a.m., September 4th, 1982. They walked down the street to escape the signal. The houses were exactly as Riley had found them. Abandoned midlife. A newspaper lay on the porch. Date, September 3rd, 1982. Headline, Creswell curse rumors escalate. Bell Tower investigation closed by state. Inside the house, there were pictures still on the wall. But when Sarah looked closer, their own faces were in some of the frames. "This isn't possible. This is photoshopped. This is fake." But the photos were aged, real, faded, and Ethan, in one image, was holding the same camera he brought today. They ran. But Riley suddenly stopped in the middle of the street, staring straight ahead. Ethan followed his gaze. Down the road stood a figure, draped in black, holding a long, rusted bell hammer. Its head was covered in cloth, no face, just standing. It raised the hammer and pointed at Riley. Riley turned to run, but as soon as he did, his eyes bled. He screamed, collapsed, his head ringing. "Make it stop, it won't shut up, I hear the children!" Then silence. Riley's body lay still, but his eyes were wide open, mouth stuck mid-scream, like his soul had fled. Sarah cried, trembling. "We're not supposed to be here. The bell doesn't ring for fun. It rings to wake it up." Marco checked his drone feed. It still hovered over the bell tower. But now, there was a crowd around it. Dozens of shadow figures, no faces, just watching, and slowly turning to face the drone. Back at the tower's base, the bell rang again. But this time 3 times. Not once. Not twice. 3. The moment it hit the 3rd tone, Marco collapsed. From his mouth, a metallic sound came out. Not a scream, not a word, but a bell chime, echoing from his throat like his body had become hollow. Sarah pulled Ethan away. That was the 3rd toll. Ethan, numb, whispered, "What happens on the 4th?" Ethan and Sarah stumbled through the fog-choked streets, hearts pounding, the bell's hum crawling through their skulls. Riley, gone. Marco, hollow. Only they remained. "Why didn't we leave? Why did we come here?" Sarah muttered. Ethan couldn't answer. He couldn't remember. They found shelter in a crumbling church at the edge of the ghost town. Dust coated the pews. Bibles crumbled in the damp. But at the altar, an open journal. It belonged to Father Elric, dated 1982. Its final pages read, "We sealed the tower in 1944 after the 4th child was taken. But still the bell rang, even when chained. We covered it, fenced it, and told the people to forget. But the bell does not forget. It remembers every name. Creswell is not haunted. Creswell is punished." Sarah's hands trembled as she turned the next page. 1 bell, the warning. 2 bells, the loss. 3 bells, the hollowing. 4 bells, the summoning. "Ethan," she whispered, "if it rings a 4th time." He already knew. The 4th toll was for the final soul. Suddenly, church windows shattered inward, showering them with glass. A high-pitched ringing, not from the tower, but from everywhere. The walls bled rust. The wooden floor warped beneath their feet. And outside, the tower was glowing, an eerie yellow-green like the color of rot, and the figures were gathering. They ran. Ethan's camera, long dead, powered on, unprompted. It played a clip from earlier that night. But it wasn't what they filmed. It showed them arriving in Creswell, decades ago. Black and white, 1982. The same clothes, same gear. Except in the video, they never left. At the end, the footage cut to static. Then words appeared. "You were always here!" They reached the tower base. Ethan looked up, and this time, he could see them clearly. The shadow people. They had no eyes, but all faced him, and from beneath the cloth hoods, they were humming. That same bell-tone melody. Sarah collapsed, grabbing her stomach. "It's ringing again! Ethan, run!" But Ethan didn't run. He saw something no one should. His name, carved into the stone wall of the bell tower. Alongside, Riley Marco, Sarah Ethan. Dates of death, all 1982. But under Ethan's name, the date was blank. Suddenly, dong, the fourth toll. The sky split, the forest groaned, and the figures at the top of the tower began to climb down. Not walk, climb, backwards, on all fours, like insects. Sarah screamed, but was yanked into the ground by unseen hands, swallowed by the earth. Ethan dropped to his knees, shaking, and then, a voice behind him, soft, familiar, not human. "Now the fourth can return." He turned. A child, pale and silent, holding a small bell in its hands. It smiled. Ethan stood frozen before the child, small, hollow-eyed, holding a tiny rusted bell, its handle cracked but still intact. "Why me?" he whispered. The child blinked. "Because you're the last." Behind him, the tower doors creaked open, but they hadn't moved. They'd decayed open, crumbling like the rest of the town, as if reality itself was collapsing. Inside, a staircase spiraling up into blackness, each step pulsing, breathing. The bell rang again, a fifth time. But Ethan didn't hear it in his ears. He heard it in his chest. His body became the chime. He climbed the stairs. At the top, the bell loomed, massive, suspended by tangled roots and chains. Underneath, dozens of names carved in the stone as some scratched out. His name was glowing. "You were always meant to be the ringer," a voice said. Ethan turned. It was himself, older, rotten, a version of him that had stayed. This is what we become when we listen too long. Ethan fell to his knees. The shadows surrounded him. The robed figures began to hum louder, a sick, droning harmony. Each one placed their hands on the bell. The ancient child stepped forward, raising the small bell one last time. "Ring it," it whispered, "or stay forever." Tears ran down Ethan's face. He reached for the rope. With one pull, boom! The bell let out its final toll, so loud it ripped the sky open. Wind howled in reverse. Buildings crumbled. The earth split. Then, silence. 1 year later, a new developer broke ground outside what used to be Creswell. They laughed when locals warned them. "Ghost town. That's just small-town superstition." They bulldozed the last standing structure, a cracked stone tower. Underneath it, they found a box. Inside, a rusted camera, a child's bell, and a weathered piece of paper. The bell doesn't ring to be heard. It rings to remind. You're next.